Hare Krishna. Before we start, I would like to ask you, do you sometimes meditate or pray or have some other relationship with God?
Yeah.
Yes? You pray?
Yes, I mostly pray, and sometimes I do a 5-minute meditation.
Mm-hmm. What do you pray for?
I usually pray for wisdom.
Sorry?
I usually pray for wisdom.
Wisdom.
And my family's protection.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever I can do to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Is there any other?
I pray for doing well in exams.
Uh-huh.
So yeah.
Okay, great. Do you have any experience with prayer or chanting mantras or meditation? Please don't be shy. I believe you pray, huh? 'Cause in Africa everyone's praying. Hare Krishna. Yes?
Oh, so you're based in Europe?
So yes, I'm based in Europe.
And
in Slovenia, Central Europe.
Do you study theology?
No, not directly. Christian theology, but I studied Vedic theology.
Vedic theology.
Yes. Vedic means that comes from Vedas. Vedas are the most ancient scriptures in this world, more than 5,000 years old. They existed even before that, but not in written form, because it is said that in previous times that people were so-called Shruti-dharas. That is Sanskrit word that means that whatever they heard once, they remembered. So there was no need for written scriptures. And later on, when this knowledge and ability to remember dwindled, they had to put it down, that this knowledge wouldn't be forgotten.
So is there a difference between the oral tradition and the written tradition?
No, there shouldn't be. So it was written just because of this. It is said that in this age, we live now in age of Kali. And age of Kali means quarrel and hypocrisy. And I believe that I don't need to prove you this, because you have your experiences that we live in the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So yes, you mentioned that you pray for exams, you pray for your family and for wisdom, and everything is very good. But these are three names, Hare, Krishna and Rama. They're completely transcendental. They're not of this world. And Hare means the God's love, because we all want love, in fact. We cannot be happy without love. And we always want to be happy. We always want to enjoy. Isn't it true? And it is said, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti-yoga ahaitukya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. This is some verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam means the beautiful book of God. And it said that how can we attain this perfect happiness? Because everyone wants to be happy eternally, not just temporary. That I'm happy now for an hour or two, and then then something miserable happens. We always want to be happy. So this is the energy of love, of God's love. And if we connect with God's love, then we can love every living entity, everyone in this world, regardless of his creed, of his color, of his species, or whatever. So this is Hare. We are calling for God's love. And then we realize that every living entity are our brother and sister. And then it's Krishna. Krishna means all attractive. All attractive. God is all attractive. It's irresistibly attractive. Even most ardent atheists are completely attracted by God. In Bhagavad-gita, this is the ancient wisdom of the East, it is said that whatever there is beautiful in this world, or attractive in this world, or magnificent, that is just a spark of God's splendor. So if we are attracted to good food, or to opposite sex, or to beautiful nature, or might and power and wealth. This is just a spark of God's splendor. So, if even a spark is so attractive to us, what if we have this all attractive power at once? We would get crazy. So, this is calling for all attractive, absolute personality, Krishna. And Rama means the reservoir of all pleasure. So, all pleasure is in God. Cannot be any pleasure without God, in fact. And it is said also in Bhagavad-Gita, Yehi sansparashacha bhoga dukkha yona yevati adyantavantah konternateshuramati buddha. Usually people search for happiness in this world, in family relationship, in wealth, in good education, in fame, beauty. Everyone wants to be attractive to others, and so on. But this verse that I quoted, in this verse it is said that the wise people, they don't search happiness in this world, because all happiness of this world is temporary. So whatever happiness we receive in this world, that same happiness will make us miserable, because it will end. And no one who is sane wants the things that make them happy, that will end. Isn't it true? So, by this mantra, we transcend these mundane desires. That doesn't mean that we don't work in this world. We work even more enthusiastically, but for Lord's pleasure. Understand? This is the consciousness revolution. This Krishna consciousness, chanting of this mantra brings a revolution in our consciousness. And because this body, we are not this body. We should understand this fact. We are not this body. This body is always changing. Even scientists, they say that every 7 years we completely change all cells in our body. So from the time we were born, we are a completely different personality. And not just the cells of the gross body changed. Also our mind changed. Our outlook changed. Everything changed. We have different desires from when we were born. We have different worldview, different conceptions when we were babies. So on the gross and subtle level, we are completely different, but we are the same person. And this identification with I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm black, I'm white, I'm African, I'm European, I'm a human being, or I'm a dog or a cat, this is all just superficial, has nothing to do with our real existence. And it is said that this identification with matter, with material consciousness, is just illusion. So this mantra, connection with God, who is completely transcendental, help us to get out of this illusion, to become transcendental ourselves, to become enlightened. So this connection with God, because God's names are not different from the God, because God is absolute. When we chant water, 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 we cannot, our thirst is not quenched. We have to drink water if we want to quench our thirst. But if we chant the God's names, then we connect directly with the Lord. Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So you said that Krishna is the name for
All attractive
all attractive.
Lord.
Is the all attractive in the world, and that sometimes we see that in sparks, like we're attracted to might, wealth, you know,
Beauty, yes, and so on.
and so on. And so it would be quite grand to see those things all at once in the same plane.
Yes.
So I was asking, wouldn't that be like the picture of paradise?
If you see all in one place, this opulences, this greatness, this attractive things.
Yeah.
In their totality, in their absolute totality, there is God. But as I mentioned, these are in this world. These are just sparks of His splendor. Even if we look on whole Earth from the universe, we can see that this Earth is insignificant. So whatever is great here is completely insignificant.
Yeah.
You should understand this, that this is completely insignificant. So, also this material world, it's significant that is temporary. Everything is temporary. Everything will be taken away from us here. So, if we depend on things of this world, we'll be miserable sooner or later, because our loved one will be taken away from us, husband or wife, and children or parents. Everyone will be taken away sooner or later, or we will be taken away. Yes. But people don't consider this. And our wealth will be taken away. I have some program in Slovenia. It's called Wisdom of the East. And sometimes I use PowerPoint presentation. And there is one picture that one skeleton is lying on the heap of gold and embracing this gold. And so this is our material life. We want to keep our wealth, our hopes, our relationships, but everything will be just taken away. We cannot really have this. Everything that can be taken away, that means that it's not ours in the first place. So we should get out of this illusion as soon as possible, because we all experience misery in this world. Isn't it true?
Yeah.
I can see here in South Africa there's so much fear, and also, but here the fear is apparent. I see everywhere these barbed wires, there's bars on everywhere, on every window, and doors. So, but in the West there is also fear. That doesn't mean that in the West there is no fear because there is no bars on the doors. It's always fear is all permeates everything and everyone. Because why? Because everyone identifies with this body, which is ever changing. But we don't want to change because our constitutional position is that we are eternal. We are eternal, and we want to be always happy, as I said. So we don't want to lose our existence. This is natural. But because our existence in this material world is temporary, we'll definitely lose it. And this existence, I don't mean just life, Of course it is life, this is the basis of our existence. But also our family, our tradition, our language, our culture, our football club, everything that makes us happy. This constitutes our existence. And we want to keep this existence eternally. But it's temporary. Therefore, this same existence will make us miserable, sooner or later.
Does anyone want to ask a question?
Yes, please feel free to ask anything.
Okay. So, I was interested in the comment when you said fear permeates everything. I wanted to ask a question first before the next one.
Yes. Go on.
Do you think that the fundamental dipole is between good and evil, or do you think it's between God and chaos?
In fact, God is all loving. But the problem is in illusion. This evil comes from illusion because we want to play the role of God. That means it is stated in 5th chapter of Bhagavata-dharma, this basic book of Vedic wisdom. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvalokam suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatvam shanti vrichati. That Lord is enjoyer of everything and proprietor of everything. So, if we direct our life for His pleasure, and we know that we are just caretakers, and it's also said in the Bible that a man is a caretaker, in fact, of every living entity. If we realize this, that we are just caretakers and not proprietors, and that we are God's servants, then it will be heaven on earth. Yes. But if we claim proprietorship and we want to exploit others for our happiness, then hell begins. And so the whole world lives in hell, in fact. The more there is greed, the more there is exploitation, the more there is hell. And not just for the exploited, but even more so for the greedy and the exploiters. They live in even worse hell, even now, because many rich people, they cannot trust anyone. If they love them because of themselves or because of their money, they don't even know for their family members. Can you imagine how hellish is this life? So, yes, and this mantra, meditation, this is called Maha Mantra. Why Maha Mantra? Because it's great mantra. In Vedas, there are thousands, in fact millions of different mantras. But there is only one Maha Mantra. Maybe you have heard about Mahatma Gandhi. Atma means soul, and Maha means great. Mahatma means great soul. And Maha Mantra means great mantra. So among all these millions of mantras, there is one Maha Mantra, and this is this mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And because it's composed of most intimate Lord's names. Yes. There are many names. And in all different religions, they chant the Lord's names. For example, Jesus said, hallowed be thy name. And in Psalms it is said, those who call upon the Lord's name, they will be saved. And In Islam, there is 99 names of Allah, and they call upon them. And even the Buddhists call upon the Lord's Buddha's names. So we can see that this is not some sectarian idea that we should call the names of the Lord. This is universal practice of all religions. And this mantra can bring us to the transcendental platform. Beyond this identification with man, woman, black, white, big, small, young, old, these are all just bodily designations. Just bodily designations. And more we are immersed in these bodily designations, more deeply in illusion we are, and more we suffer. And more we suffer. So, mantra, the word mantra means, man means manas, it means the mind, our consciousness, and trayate means to liberate. So mantra means this chant to liberate our consciousness, our mind, from all these bodily designations, and brings our consciousness to the transcendental platform, beyond this world, beyond these identifications. And as I said, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't study. I assume you're students. So you should study very, very carefully and diligently, and devote your studies to the Lord. Don't keep proprietorship of your studies or your knowledge. You should apply it for Lord's pleasure, according to Lord's commandments. Because people don't follow Lord's commandments, there is so much suffering in this world. So please connect with the Lord, especially if this regardless of your religion. You can chant this mantra or chant the names you are most familiar with. So please ask a question. Hare Krishna. Welcome.
What I thought about what you just said was just freeing of consciousness, connecting to God,
Yes.
in service to God,
Yes.
and what you said earlier. Because I was focusing on two stories
Yes.
that I know about what the difference between God and chaos and good and evil.
Yes.
And what I sort of realized was that evil exists in its capacity to create suffering and turmoil. And it exists primarily because things are too complex for us to fully comprehend.
It's. Can I interrupt for a second? It's interesting. I don't know. Maybe Albert Einstein was discussing this evil. Have you heard about this? Do you know who is Einstein?
Yeah.
Famous scientist. He said that there is no evil. That what we call evil is just absence of God.
Yes.
And then there is evil automatically. When there is no God, there is evil. And we can see that. I'm coming from ex-communistic country. And the religion and God wasn't welcome there. They persecuted religious people. And there was so much suffering because of this. And in Russia, it was even worse. They killed 20 million of their own people. Can you imagine?
Is that the stats by Alexander Solzhenitsyn?
Sorry?
Are those statistics by Alexander Solzhenitsyn?
Solzhenitsyn?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is just his statistics, but I think this is official statistics. And also Slovenia. Slovenia now has 2 million people, very small country.
Yeah.
And at the end of the war, Second World War, there was much less people, 1 million, maybe a little more than million. But they killed 200,000 Slovenians, the communists. It's crazy numbers. Yeah. 1/5 of all nation. How many people are living in South Africa? 80. How much? 80? 80 million?
Isn't it 60 million?
60 million? 60 million?
Yeah.
60 million?
Yeah, we have 60.
That would mean 12 million population killed. Yeah. Can you imagine?
I don't think I can basically think about those things.
Yes. So this is absence of God in practice. This is absence of God in practice. So there is no evil, in fact. This is just absence of God. But it's not evil by itself, because if any one of these persons would be asked, I believe, I'm firmly convinced that they would think that they're good people. And they just want to good for humanity. I'm convinced, because in Germany during the Second World War, one big officer of this Nazi government, he was a vegetarian. He was a vegetarian, and he was explaining how we should care for the animals, and he was killing millions of people. How we should care for the animals, and how we should practice ahimsa, non-violence. And then he was asked by some friend, but you're killing millions of people. And he became sober and grave, and he said, yes, this is our unfortunate task. to make the world better. So he was convinced that he was doing good, because everyone thinks that he's doing good. But if the God is not the standard, what is good and what is not good, then everything is chaos and evil.
So there are actually 2 points I want to say there. There's actually a book called The Banality of Evil, where there was a researcher who was studying people that did evil, and basically came to the conclusion that they were no different from
Other people.
you or me. So the question then became, it's not that how did the Nazis do all these atrocities, but how did we human beings do all these atrocities in history? And, you know, and this is part of the reason why I think also that the fundamental shift is between chaos and God, and not between good and evil. It's because chaos. So in the first part of the Bible, there's a part where it says the Spirit of God was hovering, but it was hovering above the waters.
Yes.
Hovering above the waters, and so the chaos there represents an absence of God, and obviously the Spirit of God is God. And the chaos is also the waters of change. And it's also, and so it's about complexity. There's complexity, there's too much complexity, there's turmoil, there's disintegration.
Yes, I understand
But
what you're speaking.
yeah.
What's your conclusion?
But I was saying that I think that it's that the story of the God and chaos is before the story of evil, which is the story of Cain. And the story of Cain is about why humans perpetrate evil. That's the story of Cain. It's about we want something.
Yes.
We try to work for it. We feel that our sacrifices aren't being paid for in the way that they're supposed to. We look at other people that are more successful than us, and we feel that those people have been rewarded unjustly.
Yes.
And then
Can I say one story? Very good observation. Thank you very much. I'm coming from Christian background, and one time I was at Mass, and the priest was reading from the Bible. And this church was in the countryside, so different peasants were gathering there. And the priest read that the workers came to the vineyard of the Lord. One came in the morning, one came in the middle of the day, and one came in the evening, just before the work stopped. Do you remember this story?
I think I remember somebody saying it.
And
Parable in the New Testament.
sorry?
It's a parable in the New Testament.
Yes, it's a parable in New Testament. And the conclusion was that all these workers got the same payment. And then I heard one peasant hearing this. He said, "This is not right. This is not right," because one came in the morning and worked all day. One came in the middle of the day and worked half a day, and one came just before the work stopped, and they all were rewarded the same. But what does this really means? Whenever we turn to God, we are rewarded by eternal life with absolute love. We are seeking. We are all seeking this love. It's not so complicated, you think, because the Lord is origin of all energies. Even this material energy is His energy. So-called chaos also comes from Him only. So He's absolute Lord. There is no evil power that is equal to Him or that can match Him in any way. But it's our consciousness, our mentality that differs things on evil and good. If we use our facilities for Lord's pleasure, then everything is perfect. If we don't use them for His pleasure, then everything is evil. And that means everything. If we sit on these seats with the intention to study for the Lord's pleasure, then this seat is also becomes transcendental, spiritual energy. But if we use it for our sense pleasure, for our selfish purposes, then this seat becomes material energy and becomes the source of chaos and source of evil. Because we can see that people, especially intelligent people of these educated people, are creating the most suffering in this world. More educated you are, more dangerous you are. Yes, it is true. It is true. Animals are simple creatures. They don't create so much suffering. Humans, with their brain substance, they create havoc because of their selfish interests, separate from the Lord. But if we would follow the Lord's words and commandments, everyone would be happy. So it's not difficult to understand. It's not so complicated. I can see that you're a very intelligent young man. So please read these books. Prabhupada's books are extremely deep and simple at the same time. This is art, to be deep and simple. It's not easy. So I recommend you to read these books and apply them in your life. You can become really great personality. Every one of you, of course, not just him. Applies to all of you. Yes, because you're the future of this nation, future leaders. Yes, most definitely. Who will be the leaders? Educated people, not some simple people. And you're students, aren't you? So those who are students now, they will be future leaders of society. Not workers in the fields or in the factories, but those who are studied men and women will be the leaders of society. And if they know this art, how to connect with the Lord, then they can save the world. Because the world nowadays is completely lost. Basically because of greed and selfishness. But if we connect with this mantra, it is said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. This mantra is cleaning the core of our heart from all these lusty, sinful desires we have in our heart and selfish desires. And so I recommend you to chant this mantra. It's so powerful and make you blissful. You saw how people were dancing and chanting and jumping around.
It's your fault. You brought the happiness.
He cannot stay still for a moment. When he
I have a psychological problem.
but when I speak, you don't jump. But when you hear the chanting of this transcendental mantra, you jump immediately. Yes.
He's always ready to jump. He sits like this.
Yes, yes. So please chant this holy mantra, this most holy mantra, and your life will be sublime. So,
School, on Friday, we're going to have a Q&A question and answer session with you
Friday's
on
gonna
Friday. I sent you the poster. Just check
tomorrow,
on the
yes.
messages.
Take the bus, sir.
You can take the bus,
Take the
yeah.
bus and come to Howard
And you can
on
ask
Friday night.
even more questions.
Yes, please bring questions.
We'll have some good dinner as well.
Okay, now we shall chant this mantra. You have your cards and your beads. It's simple mantra.
Can I just one more?
Yes.
So I was saying that there's an interesting thought at the story of paradise between Adam and Eve. There's an interesting thought there, and it's that when Adam and Eve bite from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil,
Yes.
they become aware that they're naked.
Yes.
So it's at that point they become self-conscious, and it's that.
They became materially conscious.
Yeah.
You understand? They had this consciousness. I'm a man. I'm a woman, and so on. You understand? This bodily identification, and this bodily identification is the problem, because we identify with our bodies, with our position in this world, and so. And we want to maintain this position. And so everyone who supports our existence is our friend, and everyone who threatens our existence is our enemy. And so all evil starts from this.
Yes, and I was getting to not just that one, but the point that when they become self-conscious, right, they have knowledge of good and evil. And, I think it's because the reason that is because obviously if I know that I'm naked, then I know that I'm weak. And if I know where my weaknesses are, then I know how to hurt myself. And if I know how to hurt myself, then I definitely know how to hurt you. And I just think that, but I would think that at the same time, that would also be a development of what could become empathy.
Yes, all these things are necessary in this world. Empathy, because we need empathy because there is lack of empathy. Understand? If there would be love, there wouldn't be any need for empathy.
Yeah.
You understand? Because everyone would be empathic. Not pathetic, yes. So yes, this knowledge of ourselves is basically consciousness of our separate identity from the Lord. Our nakedness means separate identity from the Lord, in fact. So we should reconnect with the Lord. And this is the meaning of the word yoga. Yoga is the same word as English word yoke. That means the connection, the binding connection. So we should reconnect with the Lord. And we, of course, this is our connection, chanting of the holy names. So I recommend you to chant these holy names and be happy. Yes. And be happy. Chant and be happy. Chant as much as possible. also through the day, but especially if you chant early in the morning, in so-called Brahma Muhurta. Have you heard about this expression before?
At 1:30.
Brahma Muhurta is 1 hour and a half before sunrise. This is very conducive for spiritual life, and for prayer, and for meditation, and for chanting mantras, because at this time there is no disturbances in the air, and our day doesn't start at that time yet, so our mind is more peaceful. So this is very conducive time, and most important is also that you switch off your phones and put them away in some other room. Yes. Because they are ultimate distractors, and they will definitely distract our mind. So when you pray or when you chant, put your phones away and just dedicate yourself to the Lord, and then you will feel connection. Hare Krishna. So I don't know if you're familiar with some other mantra before this, or you're familiar? Okay, so we'll just chant this mantra one round. It's 27 beats. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So chant like this every day, and your life will be sublime. Hare Krishna. So you're all invited tomorrow to this Q&A session.